Hi there, my beautiful subscribers, and everybody watching, and everybody who will be watching later on. So, welcome to this beautiful live where I will break down the Gemini full moon and the lunar eclipse, so you may better ascertain as to what is coming our way, your way, for the individual as well as the collective. So this is a very long report that I have prepared, and it's gonna possibly take a really long time. So if you suddenly join, then do put a timestamp or do let me know you're here. Thank you so much for this beautiful support that you guys keep giving me. And now we've got an eclipse. Okay, this Gemini full moon is an eclipse, and it is happening on the last day of November 2020. So it's 30th November 2020. This time I put, when I drew the chart, I usually don't put a location, so I leave it open. But this time I put my location, which is Bombay City, because I was really curious to know how the energies are playing out for us. Because, India has a very close connection to this Saturn Pluto conjunction, and it's really interesting to see how the polarization is playing out in the collective as well as within the individual. Okay, so there is a very very interesting it's a day chart, of course. And now what's going to happen, this exposition, is that I'm going to tell you how Prometheus is Mercury, who stole the fire, the eternal flame, from Zeus or Jupiter and gave it to the humans. In fact, Prometheus created humans. And what was Jupiter's response? He created the first woman called Pandora. So, are we ready to open Pandora's box yet with this lunar eclipse? Because it is a very, very powerful energetic vibration that is coming our way, okay? And we are ready, I think, to open that box. Now this is on 8:45, where we have the moon, and the sun is in opposition in Sagittarius. So this is the polarity of Gemini and Sagittarius, mutable air and mutable fire. Okay. Now this is at about 8:45, so we round it off at 9 degrees. There's a profound connection to the number 9, and when I discuss the Vedic side of this lunation, you will see how it fits right in this 9 vibration. A lot of the connections of different systems and the way they show up is uncanny almost, especially for people like me who study this. It is almost uncanny sometimes to see the kind of energies that are playing in both systems and multiple systems, actually, to see how similar we really are. Okay, so the sun and the moon are in polar opposites, and there is also a polar opposite between Uranus and Venus. So there is this really profound awakening that is happening, okay, whether we realize it or we don't. So the key word of Gemini's, I think, I know, the key word of Sagittarius is I believe. So how can knowing become belief? Is that even necessary for knowing to become belief? Or do we really need to understand how belief is not necessary or belief is necessary? I mean, it's a process of introspection, deep introspection, okay? So this polarities, I think, and I believe. So a worthwhile journaling would be, what do you think and what do you believe? Okay, and how do you see this whole ideology mutate, especially with the coronavirus crisis and the pandemic? A lot of sorry, shadows have been revealed to us. Okay, that is profound. So we have Gemini and Sagittarius. Both are mutable. Gemini is air, Sagittarius is fire. Gemini is ruled by Mercury, Sagittarius is ruled by Jupiter. Gemini is local neighborhood, Sagittarius is the world. Okay, again, Gemini's school studies, Sagittarius is university studies. So you see how the process of knowledge and its transmission is happening through the polarity of Gemini and Sagittarius. So what do you know and what do you believe? And how that is mutating. That's very interesting. Now, both signs are male, both signs are diurnal and mutable, right? So one is the house of Mercury, one is the house of Jupiter. And this is a day chart, right? So Valens says, Valens is one Hellenistic astrologer that I study in great detail and a lot. So he says that Gemini is calm. Now it's not something one would associate with a mutable air, right? But then Valens also says that Aries is watery. Now there's a real interesting way that the sidereal zodiac is playing into all these significations, which we will get into, because in the sidereal system, we have like just one sign behind. So we've got everything happening in Taurus, right? In the nakshatra Rohini. But I'll get to that. So Valens says Gemini is calm, right? Now the first 3 degrees are worthless and problematic, destructive. Okay, the first 3 degrees. So if you have Sun, Moon, Ascendant or any planets in the first 3 degrees, those planets are potentially destructive. Until and unless, of course, you balance the karma of those planets. That's very important. Now from 3 to 7 degrees is well watered according to Valens. And from 7 to 15, Gemini has good weather. This is tropical Gemini that we are speaking about, okay? Very good weather. According to Valens, Sagittarius is moist, okay, because of the constellation Argo. Now, we also see how Jupiter is moist, diurnal, hot, and has an exaltation in the moist sign of Cancer, which is ruled by the moon. So that's very interesting. So Jupiter is exalted in moisty Cancer. So we've got this very moisty sort of energy that's flowing through. So fire is hot and dry, and the temperament is choleric, okay? Air is hot, wet and moist, and the temperament is sanguine, right? Now, very, very interesting that, so we have a lot of hot and moist, right? Now this decan 1 of Gemini and Sagittarius, this is where we have the sun and the moon in polar opposition, right? This is the Gemini triplicity because it's at the first decan 1, right? And here it's very interesting to see how moon has no essential dignity in Gemini. Moon is cold, moist, emotions. Gemini is, diurnal, male. So there's really no similarities between these 2 signs. Yet, if we look at something very, very interesting, okay, the sun is in a better position than the moon because it rules Sagittarius by triplicity, and of course, this is a day chart. So, Jupiter is really thriving a lot more than the moon. The moon does better in night charts, okay? So, moon is the common people. That's something very important. We have to realize that one of the significations of the moon is common people, masses like you and me. Okay, so we are going to be extremely conflicted because of no essential dignity of the moon in this day chart. We can feel scorched, burnt, right? But there's something very interesting I want to mention here, that the moon is not completely out of sorts, because when I drew the tropical zodiac from Bombay, the ascendant was Aries, okay? So this falls in the natural zodiac. So the moon is in the 3rd house in the chart. And we know that the moon has planetary joy in the 3rd house, okay? So that's very interesting. And this 3rd house is the house of goddess or Thea, okay? So the the moon rejoices in the third house of the goddess. This is a profound expression. So no matter how conflicted that day chart moon is in diurnal, mutable, airy, Gemini, but there's this profound planetary joy she's expressing being in the house of Thea, or the goddess, okay? And she's rejoicing here. Now, some of the significations of moon in the third house is sacred rites and observances. Now, dreams, divination. Now, when we move on to our journey, we will see that this energy is honestly very, very psychic. Okay, very, very psychic energy that is coming through us. And Sun is also in the ninth house. And Sun has planetary joy in the ninth house, which is the house of God, right? So, what a better way to, express the Godhead other than the Sun? The Sun is the ultimate Godhead, right? The one that we can see visible, right? So, ruler of the moon is who? Mercury by domicile, right? Gemini is about communication. It's the third sign of the zodiac. And where is Mercury? Mercury is in Scorpio. So who is the final dispositor here? Mars. Mars is in rulership in Aries. Okay, so this is profound, and Mars is in the first house. So Mars being in that angular house, Mars is really egging things along, you know. Now, ruler of the sun is Jupiter, and Jupiter is again debilitated or afflicted in Capricorn, okay, because Jupiter is exalted in Cancer. So Jupiter is in fall in Capricorn. Who is exalted in Capricorn? Mars is exalted in Capricorn. And Mars is the final dispositor of the moon. So we know that a moon, when it's disposited by Mars, literally cuts and burns. Okay, the significations get more challenging because again the moon is phlegmatic, cold, moist, nocturnal, yin. It's everything that Mars is not. So there's always that particular conflict that plays out. Okay, so Decan 1, the tarot for this is Decan 1 of Gemini. The tarot card for this is the 8 of Swords. And Decan 1 of Sagittarius, the tarot card is 8 of Wands. So one is about go ahead and take action, and the other is about conflicts and feeling caged in, confined. Okay, so the sun is Decan 1 of Sagittarius, 8 of Wands. Moon is in Decan 1 of Gemini, which is 8 of Swords. So maybe a lot of the conflict that we face is sort of, is being propelled, fueled by our own anguish. So 8s are also very interesting. 8 flipped over is infinity. 8 is the number of abundance. Okay, there's this energy over here that says go. Then it's almost like, oh my god, how do I go ahead? I don't have all the information, I don't have all the knowledge, I don't know how to piece the story together, because maybe you need to realize that the blindfold is dependent on you take that blindfold off when you decide to. So these are the two tarot cards of the 2 decans, which I think is pretty interesting to just draw out that day and journal on, because a lot of information will start coming to you that way. So what do we see about these 2 cards? We got that. Okay, now Mercury in Scorpio, the 2 dispositors, and Jupiter in Capricorn, right? Now, interestingly, Mercury has been going retrograde in the water signs this year, 2020. And Mercury is in detriment in Pisces, but in Scorpio, in that again, Mars rules Scorpio, and Mars being in rulership in Aries just stationing direct, you know, that whole force of Mars is coming through right now. Okay, now this a bit of Jupiter's at 26, 27 of Capricorn. Interestingly, 28 degrees is where Mars is exalted. But it's been difficult for Jupiter in Capricorn. We know about the horn of cornucopia, Amalthea's horn of cornucopia, okay, which is a nanny goat who suckled Zeus. So there was always abundance. There was always, you know, plentiful to go around, abundance. Okay. So interestingly, Ketu also being in Sagittarius, the south node, that means there's no luck available to us right now. So Jupiter is not only debilitated, there's this Ketu or the south node subtracting all luck from our life. Okay, so that's pretty interesting, depending on how you look at it. But Jupiter has hope. Okay, Jupiter is very hopeful. Why? Because Jupiter is moving into Aquarius. Okay, where he will meet Saturn at 0 degrees, starting a new chain of meetings in the air triplicity. Before this, they met for 270 years in the earth triplicity. So having them meet in the air triplicity changes that earth-based dominance, possession, hoarding, to a more community-based, to a more, you know, communication-based system. I think that change is coming, and Jupiter is very optimistic because Jupiter is the sole ruler of Aquarius. Okay, yes, Aquarius is the domain of Saturn, who's returning home in rulership after like 30 odd years. But Jupiter is the sole ruler in esoteric astrology of Aquarius. So meeting in this air triplicity is going to change reality as we know it, right? It's going to be very profound, believe me. So what do we have now? Mercury, who happens to be in Scorpio, is at 28 degrees of Scorpio. I mean 27, 46, so we round it off to 28, which is the exaltation of Mars. So, and Mercury is also in the 8th house. I told you the tropical zodiac, Aries is the first house from my location. Whole sign house, of course. I'm using traditional rulerships. So we have a debilitated Mercury though, okay, debilitated Mercury ruled by Mars, and Mercury is right now channeling from Scorpio, which is fixed water, feminine, and Mercury, I told you, switches both ways. So that's something. Now Jupiter. What is Jupiter doing? Jupiter is in Capricorn at about 26:01, okay? And Jupiter is in the 10th house. So 10th house being the midheaven or the medium cheli, okay, which is the most visible part of the natal chart, is debilitated. Saturn ruled. So Jupiter is being ruled by Saturn, and Saturn disposits Jupiter because Saturn is a rulership in Capricorn. So the vibe is becoming extremely Saturnine, and which is, you know, very difficult to always assimilate, always, you know, grow with, because Saturn is the lord of the 7th planetary sphere, and he brings to us all this information from the fixed stars, which then is assimilated down the hierarchy, and then Venus. Okay, Venus, also known as Ushana Shukra, converts all of this energy and gives it to us through the 5 senses. Okay, everything is a manifestation of planetary rays that come down to earth. They solidify, they create. Okay, not earth, but they come down from the spirit world, they spiral downwards into creation, and then they solidify. And the solidification of planetary rays is what, you know, causes the material 3D world. So everything depends on what kind of rays you're channeling from that particular planet. So in Western magical systems, if a planet is bad for you in the natal chart, you do not invoke that planet. You do not work on planetary talismans of that planet. You do not, in any way interact with that planet. But in the Vedic system, if a planet is weak, you propitiate that planet, you pay obeisance to that planet, and you work around it. So I think there's a bit of truth in both, and it's up to us to truly understand and assimilate the planetary rays and the wisdom that emanate from it. For instance, if Venus is your final dispositor and the most dominant planet in your chart, working with Venus on a Friday is tomorrow, and chanting the Bij mantra of Venus, which I said is Om Drang Dring Drong Sa Shukraya Namaha, doing the Yoni mantra is really going to be effective. So as Venus is your planetary dispositor, she will send to you the rays that are necessary for your growth. So this is the magic of astrology. This is why as above, so below. Because it is our job to get all of these planetary rays, to translate them into physical, viable experiences, into tangible things that we can touch and we can feel through Venus, the petal pentagram of Venus, right? So that's pretty interesting. I think the planetary rays and the absorption of planetary rays into our being, and how we may further channel them and how we may further grow from them. Okay. So both Mercury and Jupiter are being ruled by malefics as we speak. And this is a full moon and lunar eclipse in the polarity of Gemini and Sagittarius. And both the dispositors or rulers of these signs, domicile rulers, are being ruled or disposited by malefics. So the vibe is sort of Martian and Saturnine, because you'll see how Jupiter is going to play a really important role, right? So now Gemini moon, the term ruler, so I said the domicile ruler of Gemini is Mercury. Okay, so now we've got the term ruler. The term ruler is Jupiter. Okay, very, very interesting. And this Jupiter's second term is competitive, temperate, fine weather, prolific, luxuriant, beneficent. So it's a benefic term. This is very important, because when you really look at rulerships, you need to look at domiciles as well as triplicities as well as terms. Because here we are looking at the triplicity, so it's already Gemini triplicity where the moon is. Okay, Sag triplicity where the sun is, because it's in the first decan, right? So you see how Mercury and Jupiter are playing with one another. Gnosis is Jupiter, Mercury is data gathering. So how can data gathering and gnosis interact with one another? Jupiter being in the feminine cardinal sign of Capricorn, debilitated, and Mercury being in fixed, icy Martian Scorpio. Okay. Now Sagittarius, the ruler of the sun. Okay, it's the first term. The first term ruler is Jupiter himself. So the sun is being ruled by Jupiter, by triplicity, Jupiter by domicile, Jupiter by term. Because the first 12 degrees of Sagittarius belong to Jupiter. So you see how Jupiter is playing really huge within the collective and the individual consciousness. Okay, this is Brihaspati. As Jupiter is depicted in the Vedic iconography, Jupiter is a guru, a param guru, okay, a teacher. So this term, the first term of Jupiter, is the first 12 degrees of Sagittarius. It is ruled by Jupiter. So if you have any planets within the first, say, 10 degrees, these planets are very Jupiterian. And I told you how Jupiter is moist. It's fire, it's mutable fire, but because of that constellation ARGO, it's moist. Okay, so the sun has got that moisty feel to it, and the sun doesn't always like to be moisty, but the sun of course rules Sagittarius through triplicity. So there's this beautiful solar expression that is playing out. Okay, these degrees are damp but temperate, dabbling in all crafts. So with the sun is how we shine, how we lead. So we'll want to dabble in all crafts and skills. We'll be prolific. And natives of this particular term have many children and many brothers, yet they are poor. Okay, so if you have anything in the first term, and the first 10 degrees, so it's going to be predominantly Jupiter, then let me know that is that correct, because it's all Sagittarius. The first decan of Sagittarius is Jupiter by domicile, Jupiter by decan, Jupiter by face. So it's about gnosis. Whatever planet is there, it's about gnosis. We've just had all these planets coming through 15 of Libra to 15 of Scorpio. And we've had the Via Combusta, which is all these planets getting burned out. And then we have the Sun at Serpentis, which is 19 degrees of Scorpio, which is about Kundalini awakening, right? So we've got Jupiter, Jupiter, Jupiter. Very, very important in this whole equation, right? Very important in the whole equation. So Jupiter is in the 10th house, okay? 10th house is the most seen place of the chart, the midheaven. It is an angular house and it deals with career and action. And this is a day chart. So, it's Jupiter shining bright in all his glory. Ruler of the 10th, who happens to be Saturn, is conjunct Jupiter in Capricorn. Now, interestingly, Jupiter has just separated from a conjunction with Pluto in this lunation and is moving towards a conjunction with Saturn, right? So that's going to happen. And I said that always pay attention to applying aspects, because, once and exacting aspects are the here and the now, the present. Okay, it's profound. So Jupiter is at about 26 to 27 of Capricorn as we speak, and the Sabian symbol for that is a mountain pilgrimage. So, all is not nefarious or all is not lost. There's a spiritual oeuvre to this. There's a spiritual notation somewhere if we know how to listen. Okay? And 26, 27, 2601 actually Jupiter, it happens to be between two terms. It's at the junction of term 4 and term 5 of Capricorn. Now term 4 belongs to Saturn, 4 degrees, severe, cheerless, alien, unlucky with their children, brothers, bloody, destructive, cold, pitiless, standoffish, malicious, slow to act, but tricky. So Jupiter is feeding off all these term significations, and he is so important, right? Now term 5, because I said Jupiter is at the juncture of term 4 and term 5, belongs to Mars. So again, we see a Martian signature, and Mars is direct now, finally, right? So lofty, prosperous, dictatorial, aiming at rule in everything. Okay, poor, destructive of their own relatives, especially brothers, wandering yet loving. Solitude, okay, a lot of solitude in their life, and quarrelsome to the end. So now when we really sit and meditate on these significations that Jupiter is, feeding off in these two terms of Capricorn, the last two terms, that we see that there's a sort of, unease that we are feeling with the gnosis, with the ideology where we are headed to. Now, Decan 3 of Capricorn, it's ruled by Sun and Mercury, the Virgo triplicity. And the card for that is 4 of Pentacles. Okay, Jupiter is on the last decan, the card is 4 of Pentacles of Capricorn, okay. So this is about, I think, scarcity uh, method or ideology. When you feel like nothing is enough, you don't have enough, okay? Worrying about money, okay? Worrying about money. Yes, me too. But interestingly, Austin Cooper calls this a throne. But I don't think he means it as a throne of royalty, but it is a throne of commerce. Okay, money. A lot of money significations are floating around right now, a lot of financial significations. So it's a throne of commerce. That's something to remember. Now we are ready to earn money anyhow, okay, ruthlessly and very ruthlessly. For many of us, that's the way it is. But thankfully, there is that spiritual vibe. No matter how difficult the significations of the term get, the two terms get, and Jupiter being in the juncture feeding off both. But the mountain pilgrimage tells me that there is, a spiritual theme at work. A mountain pilgrimage is like high and low. Sometimes you're low and then you are, prostrating, or you're doing certain spiritual breath work. So you're, up and down, up and down. I think that's what Jupiter is also facing. Highs and lows. The theme of ecstasy and despair, hope and hopelessness, okay, loss and gain. Now, when I think about a mountain pilgrimage, the first thought that came to my mind was a mountain goat, and that is the archetype of Capricorn, where Jupiter is. Who is a better mountain climber than the mountain goat? Seriously. So there's a slow and steady growth that I see. Okay, it's happening whether we know it or not. Now, Mars, the Sabian symbol of Mars is the sorry, not Mars, Moon. Now we are back to talking about Moon, because I really can't discuss the Sabian symbols of each planet. Moon Sabian symbol is an industrial strike, and the theme of that is enough. We've had enough. The moon is the common people. Moon at 8 degrees of Gemini, 8:45, so round it off to 9 degrees. The moon says enough, and this particular industrial strike tells me there will be explosive interactions. There'll be fights, there'll be, looting, maybe destruction of property, a lot of ups and downs, okay, ups and downs. And don't forget, this is not a night chart, so it's a day chart, so already the moon is sort of like, being burnt. Now, the Sabian symbol of the sun is rocks and things forming therein. So how rocks are created, at the bosom of, in the bosom of the earth, through pressure and time. Nothing can create rocks. I mean, of course, we have lab-grown diamonds, but a true diamond, it's created in subterranean, pathways through pressure and time. So this reminds me, rocks and things forming of the sun trine Mars, and that's an applying aspect in this chart. Sun is trine Mars. Sun in Sagittarius trine that Mars in Aries, and that Mars is now moving forward, okay? Now, a very interesting thing that I noted is that the moon in Gemini has one aspect and is quincunx Venus in Scorpio. Quincunx are the inconjunct. Now, the dynamics here is between mutable air and fixed water. Okay, a lot of meditation can be done on this. A lot of information I give you can be used to channel deeper into the truth. Okay, so the dynamics between mutable air and fixed water, right? Now both planets are debilitated, although moon is in the third house of the goddess, where moon has planetary joy. Venus is in the 8th house, which is known as idol, the place of death and inheritance. Now, Venus being in the 8th house already, it is the cause of accidental debility. In fact, even Moon being in the 3rd house, third house also is a sort of, a cadent house. So uh, it could be a malefic house. It's the least of the malefic houses, but there's always a whiff of that. So both the planets are debilitated, okay, both. However, the moon looks to be in a better position, right? Air and water are supposedly not compatible in traditional astrology. Yet we know in science that, water has air and air has water. Because all the 5 elements, they are connected. Nothing exists in vacuum, right? Now, moon is very changeable with mutable Gemini, mutable air, air scatters, and mutable air scatters the most. So Venus is very fixed right now. So the moon is us, our emotions, our everyday habit patterns. We are ready to change, we are ready to adapt. Venus is relationships. Venus is our money, our money, So our money situation, the financial structure at this moment is fixed. They do the things the way they do. Pfizer has just come up with a vaccine, and Pfizer has become, a multi-billion-dollar company overnight. So this coronavirus dynamics has made some people very rich. So Venus is fixed, Moon is changeable. So crisis, it's inevitable, right? A crisis occurring between Moon, people, and Venus, money, financial crisis. A lot of this is channeled information, okay? So we need to integrate both the archetypes. Both the archetypes if we are to resolve the financial crisis. The thing with Moon in Gemini, it's a fun vibe. Mercury, the trickster, thank you. Mercury, the trickster, sort of playing with the moon psyche. So the moon is changeable, and the moon is sort of, the moon wants Venus to lighten up. And Venus is in Plutonic, Martian, Scorpio, right? And Venus finds the moon irritating. So financial institutions are going to find the people sort of, are getting on their nerves because they feel like they are losing a lot of money. So the way we handle our money is also, of course, going to change with the quincunx. That is again going on with the Sun and Uranus. I'll get to that. Even Moon and Venus is a signification of money. The whole system of money changing. Okay. So essentially, Venus cannot lighten up. So this crisis emerges. Okay. Venus thinks, so the moon is so irritating, so shallow, that it wants all this, it has all these inconsistencies, okay? So, and now immutable air creates agitation. Now think of, ripples in a pond, a fixed water body, okay? It creates all these ripples, okay? And if the agitation becomes too much, then it causes a sort of current that penetrates into the psyche of Scorpio. Otherwise, mutable air Gemini plays on the still lake, still waters run very deep. So the mutable air doesn't really penetrate inside and, start churning the fixed lake. Okay, not like the Amrita was churned out, right? No. But sometimes it just goes away, the mutable air is scattered so quickly, so it creates a bit of ripples and it goes away. But when it doesn't, it persists in the pressure. It's this whirlpool that's almost being created. So that's when the psyche of Scorpio is penetrated, okay? Scorpio, deep water, Gemini, restless air, okay? So Yeah, now let's get to the next. Okay. Now Venus it's very difficult for Venus to ground this energy, okay? And Venus feels a sort of a crisis, okay? A deep sense of insecurity. And Venus is somehow being forced to look at the inconsistencies, the dysfunctionality of the financial system. Because as I said, and I'll say it again, that everything manifested is a direct emanation of the planetary rays that get solidified. And the planets are living, breathing beings. Okay? So she has to look at what's dysfunctional right now, right? Venus is a great unifier, remember? That's why in esoteric astrology, Venus is Ushana Shukra, the principle of connection, right? But she's in Mars rules Scorpio and she's afflicted. Venus rules Taurus, which is a polarity of Scorpio. So she's debilitated in Scorpio. It's a very difficult position for Venus, actually. So how our financial health plays out, it's going to be quite interesting and fun to watch, okay? And it is this moon in Gemini. For all of us common folk to not feel threatened. I know it's difficult with, people taking off and jobs being, lost, but we knew this. This is something we expected in the age of Aquarius, okay? If you're watching this video, I'm sure you expected this. You knew this was happening. Okay, so we need to be less distracted, the people, okay? We need to be less distracted and we need to be more consistent. I think that is a commitment the financial institution is looking from us, because we have created this extreme exploitative system that's only feeding a few mouths at the very top of the pyramid. So it's really now up to Venus to really look at all of this through this penetrative lens of Pluto and Mars, right? So Gemini moon wants the here and the now, okay? That's Gemini's realization. I mean, really being present in the here and the now is everything, okay? Everything is a part of the Bodhisattva. So moon just cannot commit. So in a sense, I think people, the common folk, we are unable to commit to a better life, which is why we have so much polarization. Fascists are ruling the world. Everybody disagrees on politics, on religion. It's really a polarized world we live in. So the planetary rays coming to us are somehow, not being channeled into their highest vibration. So commitment to a better life, commitment to better ourselves, I think that is lacking from us all. Okay, a deep-seated commitment. So all I tell you guys is let us not be inconsistent with with our pledge to defend the earth, with our pledge to do what's right for everybody. It's not about hoarding, it's not about possession, it's about doing right by all of us. We are in this together, okay? If a butterfly flaps its wings in Bombay, there could be a tornado that comes to the US, literally. So the laws of causation, they are difficult to comprehend for the human psyche, because such an abstract concept, how do we quantify that? Our brains are dwarfed by such tremendous magnanimous ideas, right? So I think we need to appear consistent, all of us. Take a sankalp or an intention together of what we are going to create, literally. We have to examine, each one of us, the situation, okay, and accept our share of responsibility. This is a message I have been getting from the planetary diamonds over and over: responsibility. when you have a rule of Saturn for 2 years responsibility. So I am in my peak Saraswati, okay, which is Saturn. When Saturn goes into the moon sign, before your moon sign, your Saraswati begins. And then your Saraswati, my Saraswati is rising. So it's really something that I'm channeling a lot from the planets, our share of our responsibility, our acknowledgement, our authorship. Okay, we need to feed it less into fear. Okay, be less threatened about everything. I think that's just very important. And a commitment to better the situation for us all. Okay. Now, another way to look at this is air and water. Air is the mental realm, water is the emotional realm, okay? Now, with the quincunx, like we have a quincunx between the moon and Venus, the two feminine archetypes, there'll be a crisis or there'll be crises erupting around the need to integrate both mental and emotional bodies and realms. So we need to find ways to integrate our emotions with our intellect. So we've got this play between mutable air and fixed water, you know. So it's something we need to do. Moon in Gemini is in the conscious world, okay? Venus is in the unconscious. Scorpio is the realm of the unconscious, okay? And the quincunx provides this tremendous stress that brings about a psychological crisis. So the moon and Venus, us and money, moon is emotions and money, us and relationships, okay, our mother and maybe our inheritance. Okay, so it's really, hi. So it's really a profound time if you really look at it. Okay, this integration is very important. Moon in Gemini conscious, Venus in Scorpio unconscious, quincunx brings about the psychological crisis, and we all operate we all need to operate from this integration: emotions, cogitation, intellectual processes. Left and right brain, I think syncing is very important, okay? The second quincunx aspect is between Sun in Sagittarius and between Uranus in Taurus, okay? Now the Sun is of course in a better place than Uranus, and Uranus is in fall because Uranus is exalted in Scorpio. Okay, but Uranus is in fall in Taurus. Fixed earth, realm of Venus. This is mutable fire versus fixed earth. Okay, now fire can destroy the earth. We've seen that at the beginning of 2020. All the bushfires, California burning. But that's in extremes. Remember, this fire of Sagittarius is mutable. So it's a quick moving fire, okay? Like a torch, those Olympians were taken, you know, run through like the mutable fire. So Taurus is Venus ruled and Sag is Jupiter ruled. Interesting, they are both benefics. Now Venus is exalted in Pisces and Jupiter rules Pisces in traditional astrology. Okay, it is the nocturnal yin expression of Jupiter, Pisces, and Venus is exalted in Pisces. Beautiful. Now, Uranus is in danger of being thrown off balance. And I've been channeling a lot from Uranus. His mantra is Om Namo Prajapataye Namaha. Om Namo Prajapataye Namaha. Om Namo Prajapataye Namaha. So, you know, because Uranus and Mercury opposition I lost my dog, and Uranus happens to be the ruler of my sixth, which also rules small animals, 6th house. And not only that, Mercury happens to be the ruler of my rising and is in my 12th house in Leo, conjunct the fixed star Regulus and conjunct Saturn almost by an orb of 2 or 3 degrees. Now, Uranus is in this dangerous situation where he could go off balance. We don't want that. Uranus brings thunderbolts, okay, a very abrupt energy. And when he will do well, Uranus and Taurus will do well to integrate the Jupiterian wisdom that is coming through the sun. The solar logos is channeling from Jupiter. Okay, and the sun in Sagittarius needs grounding, and that's what he's learning actually. Okay, ultimately, if you look at who is the final dispositor in this, so Uranus in Taurus is being disposited by Venus, and Venus is in Scorpio. So the dispositor of Venus is again Mars. Who disposits Mars? No one. In this chain of dispositors, Mars is the final dispositor. So Mars has a very prominent signature in all of this, these things that are taking place right now, especially what will happen with this lunar eclipse, this lumination, this full moon. Now, okay, the sun. One of the significations for the sun is powerful people, politicians, celebrities, leaders. This is channel information, all of this. So all of these sun archetypes must remember to be engaged with us, the common people. And we are the moon. We are in opposition to the leaders, to the celebrities, to the politicians. They cannot be oblivious to the consequences of their opinions and actions, which they will try to be with the quincunx to Uranus. They are not going to be held liable. So we'll see how that one plays out. I think there's going to be some sort of something happening with celebrity culture or some politician or something, and a lot of things are going to come to light. They can't be blind to the internal inconsistencies and the malfunctionings of their position. The quincunx between the sun in Sagittarius, Jupiter's about truth, about justice. Jupiter being exalted in Cancer tells us it's about nurturing. It's moist, it's sanguine, it wants us to grow. Astronomically, Jupiter literally protects the earth from asteroids, coming and destroying life and civilization. So it's almost like a big brother of our sweet little sun, Not a big brother, a smaller brother, because, after all, Jupiter's still a planet. But sun, this little show that's happening in the solar system is the gig of the sun. Let's be clear about that. This is the sun's gig. So Saturn is one of his main gatekeepers. Jupiter is a very prominent player. Okay, but the simulation belongs to the sun. This little game is the sun's game. Don't forget that. So we need to hold sun archetypes, responsible. They need to realize and awaken to the responsibility that they need to take. Now the financial imbalances must be confronted and addressed. Okay, must be. And the quincunx here, I think, is speaking about a transformation of both parties. Uranus rules technology. Taurus is money. Sagittarius is ideals. Sun is leadership. So you see, it's really transformative what's going on. Sun leaders, okay, politicians in Sag, religion, truth, ideals. Uranus is a spiritual awakener. Taurus, finances, banking, beauty. So we need to integrate fixed earth and mutable fire. So the place between earth and fire, mutable and fixed. Now when you think about the two symbols, you look at the Taurus symbol, it's a bull. When you look at the symbol of the ancient symbol of Sagittarius, it's a centaur. So Taurus is a bestial sign, like Capricorn's a bestial sign, Leo is a bestial sign. But the centaur is half human, half bestial. So I think that's something really interesting to look at both the symbols of Sagittarius, where the sun is, and looking at Sagittarius is the centaur, and looking at Uranus's position in Taurus, and Uranus being represented by the bull, which is completely bestial. Okay, so that's also something to really journal on and to understand, to comprehend. How are these two playing, half bestial, full bestial, half human, the adaptation of it. So I think what Uranus is doing, and this is my channeling again, it's the sacredization of the sensate, or the sacredization of the five senses, to make ordinary life spiritual and precious. Okay, nothing is mundane. In this is what Uranus wants us to realize, that the material world, which is Taurus, is not only there for our consumption, our possession, our hoarding, and our use and abuse and throw, but by sacredizing this whole process of our five senses, we see truth, beauty, freedom in everyday life. That is spiritual awakening. That is what this quincunx is doing. All right. So material world is not just for hedonism. It's not just for indulgence, possession. It is to awaken the Kundalini. Okay, life and mundane expressions of life are sacred. Can we realize that? Everything is sacred. That is the message of Uranus. Okay, that is the message of Uranus. Venus, on the Sabian symbol, a drowning man rescued, tells me that although Venus is in that position in Scorpio, there's still hope. Because a drowning man rescued tells me that our finances can be rescued. It can be, okay? So I was journaling, and I just started writing universal income, money earned from data dignity, agricultural innovations which will feed everybody, not a single child, woman, man, animal will go hungry anymore. So that is, I think, a big job of Uranus and Taurus. And this quincunx is stressing on that, with Jupiter about to enter its soul sign. Jupiter rules Aquarius, soul ruler, and is about to meet Saturn, changing that whole triplicity game. So I have goosebumps. It's crazy. Now, eclipse is taking place in tropical Gemini, Decan 1. So it's actually sidereal Taurus, and it's conjunct the fixed star Aldebaran, and is opposite Antares. The archangel of Aldebaran is Michael, the chieftain of God himself, and the archangel of Antares is Uriel. Okay, and Uriel is profoundly secretive and mysterious. Okay, so we've got the play between Antares and Aldebaran. So Aldebaran is the third eye of the bull, and Antares is the heart of the scorpion. So this play between the heart of the scorpion and the awakening of the third eye of the bull, this is going to be very interesting in how this plays out. Okay, the opposition between Aldebaran and Antares. Antares is warlike. Okay, that's why his name is Antares, because he was anti-Aries, so Mars, you know. He was fiery, red, he's Martian nature, Antares. Michael is also quite Martian type because he's a warrior after all. So this, and Venus is opposite Uranus. So again, Venus rules Taurus. So Venus is opposite that sign that she rules. So that's also, you know, there's something to think about. Fourth manzil. This is happening in the fourth manzil of the moon. Aldebaran. This manzil is called the follower. Is good for contracting marriage, putting boys to study law, scriptures or writing, for making medicines, for making a journey. Now don't forget, this is not a normal full moon. This is a penumbral lunar eclipse. So the significations always tend to change with eclipses. Eclipses are traditionally considered inauspicious in India. You don't eat during an eclipse. You don't sleep during an eclipse. You do sadhana. Mantric sadhana is the best thing to do during an eclipse. Okay, mantra, yantra, puja, any kind of magical ritual, planetary invocations, all of this, okay, is on. Aldebaran is the star of illumination. Its opposite Antares, star of anger, pride, revenge. Is nature of Mars and Jupiter, by the way, and Taurus. So expanding, fiery, okay. All right, now let's get to this is a long lecture, so you know, I got this really interesting stuff that I channeled. That's the only way that I could survive. So, you know, it's just channeled some really nice stuff. I thought you guys are gonna be excited for this lunation, because there's a lot of change that's coming forward with this. Okay, a lot of change. So I think we are now entering a completely another topic, right? Because what I want to tell you, okay, let's do some sidereal astrology now. So we've done esoteric, we've done Hellenistic astrology, tropical, traditional, classical astrology. Now when we move into Vedic astrology, we see that the moon is in, the eclipse is in Taurus, in the third house, of course, and the ascendant is Pisces, ruled by Jupiter in both systems. Again, we see how Jupiter is so important. The ascendant degree is 24, 43 in the sidereal chart. So take that to 25. Moon is in Rohini in Pada 2. I said how each nakshatra is broken up into 4 padas. Okay, this is the triplicity system again. So the 4 padas have 4 different goals. Okay, Artha, Kama, Dharma, Moksha. Artha, acquisition. Kama, desire. Sensual desire, all of that. Dharma is ideology, spirituality. Moksha is liberation. So this is happening in Pada 2. So the moon is geared towards Kama, okay? And the moon is exalted in Rohini, by the way, in Rohini Nakshatra. So the moon holds a beautiful placement. It has planetary joy being in that third house of the goddess Thea, and now it is ruling this very nakshatra where we have the eclipse, okay? Deities Brahma. So Brahma is one of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwara. Brahma creates, Vishnu preserves, Shiva destroys. Hello? So Rohini is a fixed constellation, okay? Some things you can do: digging foundations, building cities, rituals for atonement, okay? Propitiate deities, plant trees, coronations, although not advisable because it's an eclipse. So, I'm just telling you some of the signification, some of the magical work that you can do with Rohini. So you may have a planet or you're rising in sidereal Taurus in the nakshatra Rohini, right? Meritorious deeds, buying land, sowing of seeds, installation of deities, building temples, anything that is permanent. So a lot of my Indian clients, for the boys, poite or thread ceremony, but not advisable. It's an eclipse. But under Rohini, it's very good. That's a very good muhurta. Okay. Upanayan also very good muhurta for that. Now, so if you have a baby that day, if you've just had a baby and you're watching this and this is 30th of November, so then let me tell you, she's going to be truthful, pure, sweet-tongued, settled mind and beautiful to look at. Okay, so I do very, very special charts for children. So if you want to book a reading for your child, let me know. It's really important to understand the vibrations your children come with, so you may better prepare and give them the correct tools. Okay, so very lucky baby, even though it's an eclipse. This, especially if it's a girl in Rohini Nakshatra, she's going to be very beautiful. She's going to have the beautiful voice. Taurus deals with this Vishuddha chakra. So the voice of Taurus, I mean, who is an American singer I can think of? Adele, I think. Adele is very strongly Taurus. Okay. Now, what to do? My clients will tell me that what do we do? It's a lunar eclipse. It's, moon is not dignified and all of that you've said. What do we do? So my suggestion is to worship Vigna Ganapati. Okay, Vigna Ganapati. He is the 9th of the 32 different emanations of Ganapati. So, and we also have this penumbral lunar eclipse in 9 degrees. Yes, of course, give thanks at all times. So, Vigna Ganapati removes obstacles, and this is a very rare form. Actually, this is not a Vigna Ganapati exactly, but you may type it out, Vighna. Okay, this is a Ganpati from the God and Goddess tarot deck that I have, and I meditate on deities with that. It's a very effective deck though. But that is not Vigna Ganpati. It is one of the Ganpatis. It's not Vigna Ganpati. Now, Vigna Ganpati is a very rare form. He has 10 arms. That means it's a tantric form. Whenever you see deities with 4 arms, they are Vedic forms. But whenever you see deities with 10 arms, Dashabhuja, that means they are tantric forms. Okay. He's also 10-armed, and his iconography is similar to Vishnu. He also holds the Shankha and the chakra in 2 hands. Okay, the conscious Shankha chakra is what Krishna holds, the chakra. Honor your ancestors during this eclipse on Rohini Nakshatra. Okay, and also take a spiritual bath. So, a bath is actually one of the most profound ways to purify yourself. When you're depressed, when you're out, having a ritualized bath where you're literally cleaning yourself, you literally feel yourself like the deity that you wish to bring in. In Tantra, we have deity meditations, dharani. So when we visualize the Devi within us, so the Devi, whoever we are praying to, if it's Ganpati or if it's any of the Dasha Mahavidyas, then you feel the Devis within you, and when you bathe yourself, it's like you're bathing the deity. So again, sacredization of the profane, the mundane, I think ritualized baths, or of course if you can get a massage, nothing like it. Really powerful to get a massage during Rohini. Rohini is very sensual, so it's really powerful. So now let's get back to the tropical chart and talk a bit about dispositors. So the sun is in Sagittarius, disposited by Jupiter. Jupiter is in Capricorn, disposited by Saturn. Saturn is in rulership. So this is the first chain of dispositors, Saturn. Now the moon is in Gemini. Mercury is in Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Mars is in rulership. So the two malefics are in rulership, ruling each other. Venus is in Scorpio, ruled by Mars. Mars is in rulership. Okay, Aries. And the sun is at 8:37, by the way, in the 9th house. The moon is in 8:37, 3rd house. Mercury is at 28 degrees, 27:46, 28 degrees in the 8th house. So remember that this Mercury has debilitation because the 8th house is, the idle house. So there's always a deep signification to that. But ancients just prefer to call it idle because this is death is such a difficult concept to grasp for us materialists that. So Venus is in 1057 in the 8th house. Again, accidental debility being in that 8th malefic house. Mars is in Aries, 1655, 1st house. So, we have a Mars in rulership going direct in that 1st house. Tells me, okay, if we manage to, propitiate that Mars, and if we manage to get the correct planetary rays from Mars, we will find atonement. Remember, rituals for atonement. It's very important to perform these rituals at this time with the lunation and eclipse being in the Rohini nakshatra. Jupiter's 2601, 10th house. So it's a very prominent, visible Jupiter. Saturn is again in Capricorn, ruling himself 2821, 10th house. Uranus 732 of Taurus, retrograde. So we spoke about that quincunx between Sun and Uranus, the two masculines. And again, remember, the significations of Uranus can be quite eccentric because he is retrograde after all. Om Prajapataye Namaha. Om Ham Prajapataye Namaha is the mantra of Uranus. Very, very powerful mantra. Neptune is in Pisces, 18 degrees, 12th house. So very spiritual vibe of this lunation. Pluto is in 2315 Cap, 10th house. Tropical ascendant is falling in Aries, 1852 to 19. Okay, so this is Decan 2. Now, I found two beautiful Sabian symbols for the ascendant. One is a magic carpet and one is an empty hammock. This is the Sabian symbol of the ascendant degree. So a hammock, an empty hammock, it gives you place to sit. But it could also mean that you're lost in nostalgia. Okay, a magic carpet, it takes you to a whole new world, right? We think of Jasmine and Aladdin and that flying carpet, and it's like the world is theirs to discover, right? So that kind of energy could be playing out, okay, with these Sabian symbols. Now let's get a bit to people tricks, and let's understand a bit of the energies of Jupiter through the Picatrix. Now, chapter 4, book 4, all this is just channeled information that I was just understand that, okay, I got to mention Jupiter, I got to mention this, and I just go there, I open the Picatrix, and bam, it's there. So, collecting money. What is the secret nature of Jupiter? Collecting money, fixing visions, keeping suspicions away, calming sorrow, safety in land and sea. That's what Picatrix says is the secret nature of Jupiter. Now, book 3 Picatrix, chapter 7, Jupiter is also known as Al-Mushtari in Arabic. Okay, actually in the Arabic literature, in Arabic cosmology and Islamic astrology, there is a particular jinn associated to Jupiter, and his name is Shamhurish. Shamhurish is the name of the jinn of Jupiter. He's the king of Jupiter, okay? And he's known as Al-Mushtari. He's known as Barghis in Persian. The Romans called him Harmuz. The Greeks called him Zavish. Now, you may petition Shamhurish, who is one of the most compassionate jinns, and is very, I mean, he keeps the significations of Jupiter intact. So petitioning to Shamhurish could be something that some of you might be interested in. Again, if you do, say, answer my call and make all my requests come true in the name of Raphael, the authorizer king of your matters, and in the name of Driar, Hatis, Mugis, Dries, Tahiz, Frogs, Dahitas, Afridus, and Damuhus. These are all secret names of Jupiter. Okay, so the jinn Shamhurish or Al-Mushtari, okay, he is a very benevolent jinn, and he's very interested in the matters of 3D, in the human matters, so to speak, okay. And we find his mention in the Buni corpus, and they say he's kind, although he's all powerful. He's watched by planetary angel Sarfarael, and he's aided by the spirit Faruz. Now, if you have an attack, many people experience jinn attacks. Okay, so if you have an attack from Shamhurish, your stomach can be very badly afflicted. Now, jinns are, of course, Aladdin and rubbing of the genie for some people. The jinns are beings, planetary being, I mean smokeless fire beings, not planetary beings, but jinns are essentially absolutely real. And I have my experiences with jinns, and not just jinns, but different kinds of elementals. And I want to make more videos on jinns because I have been studying Islamic astrology as well. So see how the dogs just bam started barking when I started talking about Shamhurish. So oftentimes they say with jinns are nearby, the dogs start barking. Now, Sarfayal, I don't know if I pronounced it correctly last time. Yes, I've had a lot of experiences with jinns, and especially Shamhurish. So, and I can tell you one thing, that the nature of Shamhurish is very benefic. So it's, if you are in the right, and I never suggest anybody doing baleful magic with by petitioning to Shamhurish, it's not gonna work. You will be destroyed. So it's not something you need to do. Al-Mushtari, remember. Okay, and who rules the belly? The moon rules the belly. And where is the moon? The moon is the ruler of Rohini nakshatra, where we have the eclipse. Beautiful. So now the sigil of Shamhurish is quite interesting, and that is the sigil of Shamhurish. So those people who want to petition Shamhurish, you can send me an email if you're going to work with jinn magic. If your heart is pure, there's absolutely no problem. If you want to help, if you want to do good for yourself, as long as it doesn't harm anyone. Shamhurish is obsessed with justice. So if you are going to connect to his energy, it can't be for baleful purposes, okay? He is also known as the reliable one. Remember that. He's known as the protector. He's known as the all-powerful. He's linked also to the name Al-Karim, okay, of Allah. Allah has very many names, and when you do jinn divination, you call a jinn by meditating on a particular name of Allah. So the name of Allah that you need to petition, to call Shamhuri through, is Al-Karim, the most generous, okay? So you need like brown paper, you need a pen, and you need a candle, and you can very well petition to Shamhurish. Okay, so that was, I think, a lot of astrology, but hey, I mean, why not, right? Okay, now let me put all these cards back and start to I am going to do a lot of videos soon, hopefully, on Tantra, because I've just been getting so many lame emails about people wanting to know about Tantra, or, you know, people thinking that Tantra is some sort of erotic massage and, you know, an happy ending. I'm going to be making a series of videos, you know, which I could call Tantra for dummies, but I won't. Okay, so let's get going. So we've got Aries. Okay, we're going to start with Aries, obviously, because it's the first sign of the zodiac. And we know how powerful someone's doing firecrackers. Okay. So Aries, the eclipse is happening in your third house of the goddess, Thea. And the sun is in your ninth house of the god. So the polarity, the tension of opposites, is playing out in your third and ninth house. So let's see one card only, because I've just been speaking for so long, I don't have the energy. Two of Swords, Aries. There is information in front of you that you do not know about. So do not make a move as of right now. Third houses, ninth houses, gated houses, planets have to work very hard. So you've got all this eclipse happening in the third house. It could dredge up, you know, dreams. It could dredge up sort of occult visions. Don't forget the moon having planetary joy in the third house. There's a lot of signification, spiritual signification of the moon that has been lost in modern times. Okay, so we must reclaim that back, because we're moving away from just pure rampant materialism finally. Okay, so Taurus, we've got second and eighth active, moon and sun. So second house is gate of Hades, and the eighth house is known as idol, which deals with the death and inheritance. So Taurus. So for you, I have the card of Capricorn. That's your ninth house. So there could be a foreign person who comes for you, and you know, through the ninth house, and it could be like this really sort of, you know, like Lucifer kind of guy, you know, like just guy or girl, whatever. Okay, it's there could be a sort of, you know, power play dynamic. So you could be, you know, unhealthily obsessed with this person or addicted to something together. So that's something you need to look at. In second and eighth, so second, sixth, seventh houses, but then immediately you realize it's called Gate of Hades. So income, revenue, all of that is definitely, you know, something could come to an end in that second house, that eclipse. Something could come to an end with regards to money. Okay, Page of Cups. So there is a sort of melancholia about someone who's younger than you, who's a water sign, or someone who's just younger and really emotional. Okay, you could also be the younger person, and in the sense that you're unable to express your emotions, and you know that eighth house is house of sexuality as well. So there could be like power dynamics at play, that, you know, where you feel like you're being controlled in some way. Okay, and you're also, pages are startup energies, cups are emotion. So there could be like something that started but just phased off like that, and here you were like what. Okay, now Gemini, this is happening in your first house, eclipse, which is known as the helm, your physical body. It's how you're plugged into the matrix. And of course, the sun is in the seventh, which is called setting. So it's literally where, you know, everything goes under. So seventh house is called the setting. And these are both angular houses, you know, Gemini. So planets in the angular houses have the most effect. So having that penumbral eclipse is in that angular house, it's important for you, Gemini. We have the Hermit, which is pretty interesting because the Hermit is the card of Virgo. So, you know, Virgo is the other sign ruled by Mercury. This could also be a Saturnine figure. This could also be your need to be solitary for a while, or maybe you are being forced to be solitary with that sun in the seventh house, and that, you know, that whole activation of Taurus in the seventh house. So there could be feuds, there could be problems, and you know what have you, all of that. Right now, Cancer, this for you is happening in the 12th house of bad spirits or evil spirits, and the 6th house of bad fortune. 12th house is where Saturn has planetary joy, and 6th house is where Mars is planetary joy. So Cancer, this two very, you know, 12th house of dissolution, 6th house, house of health, diet, opposition, polarities that need balance, some sort of crisis can emerge. You know, also infections, that 12th house and the significations could be infection. So, you know, it'd be very worthwhile for you to take care, Cancer. And let's see what I get for you. We've got Knight of Wands. So there's definitely someone coming into your life who's a fire sign. It could also be a text for some of you. It could be a new idea, a new creative idea that is just, you know, sort of dying to come out. And Knights are swift moving, okay, passionate, but could be cruel and has no staying power oftentimes. So that's something to think about, right? Leo, 11th house of good fortune is where the moon is, and the sun is in the 5th house. Beautiful trine aspect with Sag, right? And that is the house of good fortune, where Venus is planetary joy. And who has planetary joy in the first house? Mercury. So that's quite sweet, actually. So this for you is 11th house, sorry, Jupiter. Jupiter has, I forgot, I thought it was in your first house. Leo, no, it's in your 11th house. Gemini. So that is where Jupiter has planetary joy. Okay, so that's like, again, Jupiter is very active this lunation, very, very active, okay? And 5th is children. And think about it, Leo is the 5th zodiac sign in the national zodiac. Wow, Leo, Hierophant, the god of Taurus. So Uranus is in Taurus, okay? Quincunx, the sun in Sagittarius. So there's going to be definitely spiritual downloads for you. There's going to be a lot of, this could literally be someone who comes to you and with some sort of ancestral knowledge or some sort of information, and maybe you optimize that. It's very beneficial because both 11 and 5, very, very nice houses, okay? Very benefic energy. Now for Virgo, this is in your 10th house, Midheaven, and of course your 4th house, family foundations. Family foundations is often known as subterranean or under the earth because it literally holds your natal chart together, okay? So Virgo, some kind of discrepancies between your career and your family. Some career ideas may come to an end. Okay, so Virgo, I think the answer to everything is in your dreams, if you ask me the truth, or listen to your intuition very heavily. Okay, rely on your intuition, and when the pathway opens, or when the you know, when it's time for you to enter the doorway, walk through the two pillars of duality. Remember that, okay, Virgo. It's a really strange time for you indeed, with that Mercury being in Mars ruled Scorpio. All right, now we've got Libra, ninth house of God and third house of Goddess. So again, planets here have to work really hard, cadent houses, but benefic houses. So Libra, you're not under much fire. At least you have a new idea. Okay, Ace of Wands is always about a new idea. It could be a new relationship. It could be just something beautiful that comes into your life. Because something brewing within you that you finally see it out of your brain, and you're like, oh my God, yeah, I see that. I completely understand what that's about. Okay. So Scorpio, 8th and 2. So 8th is idol and 2nd is gate of Hades. So 8th house, house of death, house of, tax, debt. So, something in that area, even other people's money, actually, 8th house. I don't know why they called it idol. It's not idol. It's anything but idol, right? So Scorpio, a lot of conflict. 9. Rohini Nakshatra is the 9th nakshatra, okay? As well as Ganpati, Vigna Ganpati being the 9th form. So there's a lot of interesting things at play over here with nines. Nines are about completions of cycles. Swords are about thoughts and ideas. So there's something that's literally keeping you awake at night, Scorpio, and you're like, oh my God, I just don't know what to do. Okay, I just don't know what to do. And there's a lot of anguish that I feel, a lot of pain, a lot of unprocessed debris that's sprouting out, and it's gonna be fine. Spouting out, I almost said sprouting out. Debris sprouting out the unconscious. Okay, now Sag, 7th and 1st. Okay, so again, 7th is setting, and 1st is the helm. So again, there's this something about a relationship, Sagittarius, that's going to end. And if it's for the best, let it be, let it go. Again, I think Aries got that card, Sag. So options, duality, but just not enough information, so that's something to think about. Capricorn, so 6th and 12th, which is bad spirits. 6 is bad fortune, 12th is evil spirit, 6 is where Mars has planetary joy, 12th is where Saturn has planetary joy. So again, malefic houses. Okay, malefic houses, Capricorn. Now let's see what the tarot tells you. So it's always like bad fortune. It's your everyday habits, the food you put in your mouth and all of that, right? So something with regards to your diet could change, could shift, could the food you eat, all of that. Capricorn, 6th house. Look, for you, I have your own card. I think Taurus got this card, or I don't remember, somebody else got this card. This tells me that there's some kind of call to mastery as Saturn is ready to leave your sign. So there's going to be this call to mastery is what spirit is telling me. Call to mastery, believe me, Capricorn. There's just so much you've learned from Saturn being in your sign, and all my respect to you. 28 degrees Capricorn is where I have my lot of fortune. So for me it's a very and it's the degree of Mars exaltation, and I have that Mars in Virgo in the 1st house, and that ruler of the 1st is in the 12th. So it's a lot of unprocessed spiritual energy. So who do we have now? Aquarius, 5th good fortune, 11th good spirit. So again, uh, Leo Aquarius have this sweet things playing out. The Emperor, the card varies. I always say that Aquarius and Aries are two of the most visionary signs of the zodiac. So this is literally a person, Aquarius, Aries person, you know, or your father or someone like that. Or this could also be you bringing structure into your life. Saturn saying, hello, I'm coming there after 30 years. I hope you're prepared, and you better be, believe me. Now, okay, we've got Pisces. So Pisces is 4 and 10. Okay, so subterranean and midheaven. So a lot of stuff's going on with your career. Pisces. A lot of stuff. You've been thinking, you've been ideating, you've just, you know. Fourth house is that, you know, family, foundation. So even the place you live in could change, you could shift. There could be problems with the mother, or you know, just this is a card, this is 4 of Cups, and this speaks of a lack of gratitude. So there is just something that is telling me, Pisces, that there is a lack of gratitude somewhere, and you need to balance that. This is a call for that, because the universe is literally giving you chance after chance. You're like, no, I don't want to take it. No, I'm too depressed. No, I'm too upset. No, I'm not going to go that way. I don't want that. I miss what I had. No, it's not going to work. Okay, it's not going to work. It's a new era that's about to commence, and Jupiter being, yes, and Jupiter being such an important player in this lunation. Jupiter has the key. So Jupiter's beach is Grong. So Om Grang Green Grong Sa Brihaspataye Namaha, or you can also say Guruve Namaha. He's known as Guru. What do I know? What do I know? Hey, I'm a psychic. It's my job to know, right? It's what I do. So book your natal charts with me. Book your pujas, because this is a day when you know the energies are very amazing to get a puja done, to get a sort of havan done. Although on eclipse I don't ideally do a havan, it's always after or before. Now with malas also you can use them, as I have all these malas that are for sale. They are for sale right now only locally. Now there's something very special about this mala. This is called black agate mala. In India this is called Kala Hakik or Suleimani Hakik. Suleimani Hakik is used by Muslims, by you know, Hindus, by especially Shakta people, people who are into Kali Tantra. Suleimani Hakik is the ultimate protection against the evil eye and black magic. So you know, getting for yourself a powerful Suleimani Akik, and then doing jinn magic would also mean that the jinns would not be able to harm you. Okay, so protecting, but although Shamhurish is a really benevolent jinn to work with. So if you want to work with Shamhurish and you want to know more about Suleimani Akik, you want to know more about mantra signs, you want to book a puja, or you want to book a, oh yeah, I will make a video about Solomonic magic actually. I will. Now before I go, obviously I want to tell you, show you again the sigil of Shamhurish. Okay, if you want to know more, just drop me an email, book your reading, and meditate on Jupiter, Brihaspati. I bow down to Brihaspati, god of the planet Jupiter. He is the spiritual master of all the demigods and sages. His complexion is golden, and he is full of intelligence. He is the controlling lord of all the 3 worlds. This is from Navagraha Stotram. Okay, I have on my podcast the Navagraha Stotram, so you can check that out. Um, um, I was just thinking about the line, the wait, let me see, it could be here. Devatan Devatacha Navinansi Gurum Kanaka Sannivam Devatanam Rishinancha Gurum Kanaka Sannivam Vandya Bhutang Trilokesham Tang Namami Brihaspatim. This is what I was forgetting. It's from the Navagraha Stotram. It's a part of the whole Stotram, which is huge. So this is like a midsection. It starts off by paying obeisance and propitiating all the planetary diamonds from the sun. Japa Kushuma Shankasham Kashapayang Mahadyuting Dhantaring Sarva Papaganam Pranotasmi Divakaram. Divya Shankatu Sharabhang Khiradharanabasambhavam Namami Shashinang Sakta Samvora Mukuta Bhushanam Dharani Garva Sambhutang Vidyuta Punja Samapravang Kumarang Shakti Hastancha Lohitang Namamyahang Priyangu Kalika Shamang Rupena Pratimang Budhang Saumyang Sarvaguna Petang Namami Shashinang Sutam Devatanam Rishinancha Gurum Kanaka Sannibhang Vandya Bhutam Chulokeshang Tang Namami Brihaspatim Himakunda Mrinalabhang Daityanam Paramam Gurum Sharva Shastra Pravaktaram Bhargavang Pranamamyaham Nilanjana Chaya Prakyang Ravisunung Mahagrahang Chayaya Garva Sambhutang Vandya Bhaktya Sannaischaram Ardhakayang Mahaghoram Chandraditya Vimartakang Singhikaya Rudrang Rodrang Rahung Tang Rahung Pranamamyaham Palala Dhuma Shankasham Tara Graha Vimardakang Rudrang Rodratmakang Tang Krurang Tang Ketung Pranamamyaham. So this is the Navagraha Stotram. I chanted all of it practically. Then there's like 6-7 lines after this, which is not really any planetary invocation. It's a culmination. So all these that I chanted propitiated each of the planets, from the sun, the moon, the Mercury, the Mars, the Venus. So all of these planets have mudras. All of these planets have beach sounds. So everything is about the kind of planetary rays you attract, the vibration of your physical body, and the kind of light you attract from the planetary rays. That is why we see exalted planets not giving good benefits, whereas planets in fall can give good benefit. Why? It is because you are the channel. It is because you are the creator of your reality. So everything depends on your relationship to the planets. And I think that is the work I do, where I link you directly to the planets by, making you realize that they are living, they are breathing, okay? They love us, literally. Okay, if you can perceive the love a planet will feel. For we are all preparing to be such beings in different worlds, in different realms, in different multiverses. So can you imagine a human being right now, maybe incarnated on Earth, who will one day become a Jupiter? A human being could be walking on Earth right now who one day will become the sun and will be allowed to have her or his own little solar system. So, I mean, that's how crazy the simulation is. That's how crazy the planetary system is. As above, so below. As my ancestor said, we are a Kudra Brahmanda. Kudra Brahmanda, mini universe. That's where the Western axiom comes, as above, so below. In the Vedas, it is written, we are Kudra Brahmandas, mini universes. So that is our job, to co-create and to walk one another back home. So kindly consider booking a reading, donate to me. I have a lot of work to do, a lot of research to do, a lot of time spent. So yes, much love to everybody and all those who joined. But speak soon, and see you with very, very many videos soon. Bye.